Hey all, hope everybody are doing great and welcome back to Homeschool ICSE. We started with class 10 first chapter, that is periodic table, properties and variation of properties. We started with periodic properties. Many videos are already over on this chapter. Links are provided in the description. You can just go and watch it out if you have not yet watched. Clear? And coming to today's video, see, I am here with non-metallic character. See, just my previous video, if you have watched, I explained everything about metallic character. See, metallic character is very well connected with the size, right? So you can link every periodic property with size. Metallic character is directly proportional to size, right? So as atomic size increases, our metallic character increases. So what exactly we meant by metallic character here? It is the ability of losing electron. Bigger the atom, outermost electron is somewhere very far away. So it's very easy for the atom to lose that electron, right? So ability to lose electron is called metallic character. And now we are with non-metallic character. So non-metallic character is exactly opposite to metallic character. So what may be this non-metallic character? It's nothing but ability of an atom to gain electron. Okay, so to gain electron or to accept electron, I can say accept electron is called non-metallic character, right? And this non-metallic character is also connected to atomic size itself. And before that, let us try to discuss the different factors that affect non-metallic character. So definitely we can say that our non-metallic character, okay, so here N in the sense non-metallic character mainly depends on two factors. So one is atomic size. So as I said, atomic size plays an important role, and the second one is nuclear charge. Clear? Fine. Say usually smaller the size of an atom, more will be the ability to accept the electron. So I'll tell you that with one example. Just note down this particular sentence. It's very important. Smaller the size of an atom, more is the non-metallic character. More is non-metallic character, right? Fine. So in other words, I can say our non-metallic character, NMC is non-metallic character, is inversely proportional to atomic size or atomic radii, right? So this is one important thing that you must remember. Metallic character was directly proportional to atomic radii, whereas non-metallic character is inversely proportional to atomic radii, right? Okay, say for example, you have, say I'm explaining with an example now, you have an element fluorine. So fluorine's atomic number is 9, right? If you have to write its electronic configuration, how do you write? 2, 7, right? See, when does our fluorine becomes stable? When it has 8 electrons in the last shell, right? We all know what is the condition for stability. Condition for stability is to have 8 electrons in the valence shell, that is last shell. So how this guy can get stability is by accepting an electron. So when I give one electron to this, it becomes F minus, right? So we will call it as anion. So always when an atom accepts electron, it can accept one electron or it can accept 2 electrons. Okay, it depends on the atom. So here fluorine accepts 1 electron. So always on accepting, this neutral atom gets converted into anion, negatively charged ion, right? So this is very important to understand. And now F minus electronic configuration, if you write, it becomes 2, 8. Right? Okay. See, why this fluorine can nicely accept this electron is because fluorine is small in size. Fluorine is small in size. Since the size is small, what happens here is, okay, let me draw it. This is the nucleus of fluorine. This is the first shell. You have 2 electrons and this is your second shell. Fluorine has only 2 shells, right? Electrons filled up in only 2 shells. And this is your second shell, right? So your second shell already has 7 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Say the incoming electron is coming and settling in the outermost shell where already 7 electrons are there. And you know what? When does this outsider electron feel comfortable in the shell of fluorine? When this electron gets nice attraction from nucleus. Yes or no? So when this electron is accepted by fluorine's nucleus, then this guy, that is this outsider electron, feels more comfortable to stay in the shell of fluorine. Right? So when does this electron gets more attraction towards nucleus? When it is near to the nucleus, right? When it is quite near to the nucleus. Say for example, you have too many shells. You have too many shells, isn't it? Yes. Say your outsider electron, like the incoming electron, if it is coming to this particular atom, it must come and settle in the outermost shell itself. See, in the outermost shell already you would have had some electrons, and since the distance is very much high, these electrons itself are not getting nice attraction. Then how come the extra electron that's coming from outside can get attraction from nucleus? See, this electron is now very far. The shell is very far, right? So its own electrons itself is not getting enough attraction from nucleus. Then how come an outsider electron, right? It all matters a distance. Okay, so everything is related to a distance. So as the distance increases from nucleus, the electrons will not get enough attraction from nucleus. Okay, so that's why smaller the atom, the outsider electron also can get attraction from nucleus. Only then that electron can happily stay in the outermost shell. Otherwise it's not possible. So it's waste of accepting an electron. So when does this fluorine accepts electron nicely? When the outside electron can get nice attraction from nucleus. So when does that happen? So only when the distance is less between the nucleus and the outermost shell, because the electron has to settle in outermost shell. Right? Hope the concept is clear for you. So that's the reason we say smaller the size of an atom, more is the non-metallic character. Right? Okay. Say other point is nuclear charge. Other factor that can depend, our non-metallic character can depend is on nuclear charge. So you all know the nuclear charge is nothing but total positive charge of the nucleus. So why do the nucleus have positive charge? Because protons are present. So as the number of protons increases in the nucleus, our positive charge of nucleus also increases. That's what we mean by nuclear charge. So what I say here is, as nuclear charge increases, our non-metallic character also increases. Yes or no? So if the nucleus is more positively charged, then it can nicely accept outsider electron. Right? You can have a better attraction between the accepted electron and the nucleus. So to some extent, accepting ability to accept electron also depends on nuclear charge. So these are the two factors on which our non-metallic character is dependent, right? And a very important point is definitely this one. So they'll give you different elements and they'll ask you which is most non-metallic, which is least non-metallic, or arrange them in the increasing order of non-metallic nature or decreasing order of non-metallic nature. Say you can always answer such questions related to atomic size. You can relate to atomic size and then you can give the answer. right? And now let us write the points from top to bottom. If you go in a periodic table, what will happen for our non-metallic character? Okay, from left to right, if you go, what happens for our non-metallic character? So guys, trend in non-metallic character. Okay, fine. So from left to right in a periodic table, so what can happen with the size? Left to right, right? So left to right in the sense what? Across a period. When you go across a period, what happens for atomic size? Atomic size actually decreases. If atomic size decreases, our non-metallic character increases because both are inversely proportional to each other, right? So what I can write here? Non-metallic character increases. Character increases, right? Say, let me take third period elements. So comes your sodium, magnesium, right? Aluminium, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine. So these are the elements that come in third period. That's in the third horizontal row. Can you tell me among them which of them is the most non-metallic, right? See, from left to right, the size will decrease. So the things which, the elements which are smaller in size is always the most non-metallic. So definitely your chlorine is the most non-metallic. Say I can arrange them something like this, right? Say this is the order. This is the increasing order of non-metallic nature. I can say this is increasing order of non-metallic character, right? Because the rightmost elements in a periodic table, say you have 18 groups and 7 periods, isn't it? So the rightmost elements, so this is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? So the rightmost elements are always the most non-metallic because they are smallest in size. 17th group element is chlorine, 16th group element is sulfur. So 16th, 17th elements are the most smallest elements, so they are the most non-metallic in nature. Okay, fine. And now from top to bottom, so the next point is down the group. If you go from down the group, what happens for our non-metallic character? So what happens here? Non-metallic character decreases. Why? Because the size increases. So if you take the first group elements, okay, here is the first group elements: lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, right, cesium, right? Actually the entire first group elements are the most metallic, right? You cannot talk about the non-metallic character here. Okay, let me talk about the 17th group elements because they are the most non-metallic since they are smallest in size. So here the first element is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. So when you go from fluorine to iodine, your non-metallic character decreases because the size will increase. Smaller the atom, more is the accepting ability, electron accepting ability, right? So as you go from top to bottom, the iodine has bigger atomic size. So bigger the size, more shells would be there. And definitely the outermost shell is somewhere very far. Even if electron is added to that, it will not stay there because it's not getting nice attraction from the nucleus, right? So since size is increasing, our non-metallic character decreases, right? So this is all about the non-metallic character. And one more important point is the non-metals, the so-called non-metals always give acidic compounds. Okay, acidic compounds. So this point is also very, very important, right? Okay, somewhere you can note it down as a note. Let me write that point here. The compounds which are formed from non-metals, compounds or compounds in the sense any substances or molecules which are formed from non-metals are acidic. So this point is very, very important. In case of metals, compounds of metals are basic, we studied. Similarly here, compounds of non-metals are acidic in nature, right? Say one question for you. You have sodium oxide, right? Magnesium oxide, MgO, aluminium oxide, Al2O3, and sulfur trioxide, and you have Cl2O7. Can you tell me which oxide among them is more acidic? Right? See, just tell me which oxide is of the most non-metallic. Which oxide is made up of with the most non-metallic element. That you try to think of, you will get the answer. So you can post the answer in a comment box, we will check it out. Okay, so my question is, you have these oxides and I'm asking you which of the oxide is the most acidic oxide. So how do you decide acidic property? You will decide whether an oxide has the most non-metallic element or not. So just concentrate the element and think of which element is most non-metallic. Then that respective oxide is the most acidic oxide. Okay, so I think you can post your answer in the comment box. So this is all about the non-metallic character. And now we will also discuss about the chemical reactivity, how to decide which element is more reactive and which element is less reactive, looking at the periodic table. See guys, I wrote a point on a board that you can observe here. An element with greater tendency to lose or gain electrons is said to be more reactive. Okay, so we studied that few elements have a tendency to lose electron and few elements have a tendency to accept electrons. So why do this gaining losing business takes place? It is just to achieve stable electronic configuration, right? So among so many metals, we all know that metals. Now we know metals lose electrons and non-metals gain electron, right? And if you check it in a periodic table, as I have already mentioned you, see, you will have 18 groups, right? Okay, so among 18 groups, say this is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, say here the elements which are coming in the left side are having more atomic size. That means they are more metallic in nature. So these guys are more metallic, and even 13th group is also considered as metallic itself. And coming to the 14th group, and the metallic character decreases, and you leave 18th group. 18th group is neutral, they are all very much neutral. They won't participate in any reactions, they won't lose electron, they won't gain electron. It's because they are already happy with whatever electrons they have, right? And coming to your 15, 16 and 17, so these guys are most non-metallic. Okay, so again among the metals, say till here, group 1 elements and group 2 elements are most metallic, and then metallic nature slowly decreases. Actually from group number 3 to group number 12 are mostly metals, but some metalloids are also present. So what do you mean by a metalloid? It has both characters of metals and non-metals. Okay, so even in the 13th group, 14th group elements, you will find metalloids. Most of them are metalloids. Okay, fine. So can we say that all these are the most reactive and all non-metals are the most reactive? No. So again here among group 1 and 2, first group elements. Which are our first group elements? Lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium and cesium. Okay, so these are the most reactive elements, reactive metals, I can say. Okay, so they have more tendency to lose the electrons. So when something has more tendency to lose the electrons, then it can be called as reactive element. Okay, so why do they have more tendency to lose the electron? You can check it out with the size, right? So they have larger atomic size, more atomic size, so they can lose the electron easily. And again, among all these elements, you know, the cesium is the most metallic. Okay, so this is the most metallic element in the entire periodic table. Okay, say the one which is most metallic is always most reactive. Okay, so most reactive. So among all the metals, first group elements, that is alkali metals, are the most reactive metals. Okay, so this is very, very important. And now coming to the non-metals category, right from 15th group onwards, they are non-metals only, right? Say among 15, 16, 17, 17th group has small size, atomic size. So these 17th group elements, that is fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine, right? So they are the most reactive non-metals. Okay, so among all of them, again the fluorine is the most reactive. Okay, I can, to some extent, based on the size, I can say the fluorine is most reactive, but there are various other factors that can decide the reactivity, chemical reactivity, right? So based on the size and based on the concept, now I can say that fluorine is most reactive, but in some cases, you know, chlorine can be more reactive, right? In few situations, it depends on various factors again. So just the point that you need to understand is, among all the metals, first group elements are more reactive. Among all the non-metals, you know, the 17th group elements are more reactive, right? And now if I ask a question, what will happen for chemical reactivity when you go across a period? What happens for chemical reactivity? I can write something like this: chemical reactivity is more initially, right, when you start going from left to right, and then slowly the chemical reactivity becomes less, and again it becomes more, and again it becomes more. So what I can say is, first initially the chemical reactivity decreases, right, and then increases, and then increases. So why did I tell this? As I told you, first group elements are more chemically reactive, even second group elements. So what actually happens is, chemical reactivity, as you go from first group to second group to third group, it decreases only, right? So that's why I wrote initially it decreases. Okay, and then from 15th group onwards, again chemical reactivity starts increases, because you know 17th group are the most non-metallic guys, so they are more reactive. So initially it decreases, and then again it increases as you go towards your 16th and 17th groups. Okay, very good. And now coming to down the group, I mean, if you go from top to bottom, what will happen for chemical reactivity? Say you take individual group, any group you take, okay, from top to bottom, if you go, the size will gradually increase, right? So as the size increases, so what would happen for chemical nature? It will also increase, I can say. Okay, as you go from top to bottom, size increases, so chemical reactivity also increases. Again, it depends on various factors, right? You cannot just tell based on the size, right? So various factors comes into a picture as you go into a deeper concepts. But as of now, generally, if I have to say, down the group, our chemical reactivity increases. Chemical reactivity increases, right? So this is all about the chemical reactivity, right? So that's all about today's video, and in my next video I will come up with one more very, very important and interesting periodic property, that is ionization energy, or we can also call it as ionization potential, right? So do subscribe our channel to learn the concepts in a easiest way and in a detailed way. Thank you so much.